I'm gonna share my screen with y'all and we're gonna get started. All right, did I get it right? I don't think I hit the share screen button. There. All right, so thank you all for joining us for the COVIdeo series. We got a really fun one for you today and really informational. I think you're gonna be pretty wowed by what Mikki's been doing. So this is Creating Community Response with Mikki Smith from Little Africa. And I wrote food co-op, but it's food collaborative. So that's my error. Apologize.
We got two branches. We got a cooperative and a collaborative.
Oh, okay. So it is correct. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna let her explain that in just a second. I'm just gonna go through the housekeeping and then I'm turning it all over. Again, this is video. Be on video if you can. It'd be lovely. You'll see your faces. Mute if you're not speaking. The call is being recorded. Keep that in mind with what you say because it will be shared publicly. Check-ins, we're usually just doing which co-ops are in the room, having you guys let us know. We have a slightly smaller group than usual today, but not much usual. So I'm going to kind of let Nikki decide. Do you want most of the questions in the chat and we'll pull them out as you have time, or do you want people to just unmute and talk?
I want it to be interactive.
Okay. So knowing that our size, I think with this size, it's going to work. So if you have questions, comments, you can say in the chat that you want to comment if you'd prefer, and I'll let Nikki know, or you can just go ahead and unmute. According to our presenter, she's good with that. Okay, so decide how you want to do that. Staying on topic, just remember always that we're trying to make sure we get all of the information and wisdom from Mikki that we can during this hour. So we want to keep it focused on their project and what they've accomplished. Feel free to share things you've accomplished and want to share that might not fit the conversation perfectly in the chat. And of course, you know where to reach us if you need a longer direct conversation about a unique situation you're having. Today's speaker is Mikki Smith from Little Africa Food Collaborative and Food Co-op. And we're going to be covering effective collaboration during a pandemic and the example of what they did and how to galvanize existing organizations. So this came up a little in Amaha's conversation, like you might be in the role to join another org that's serving the community, or your co-op might be actually in the position to lead and galvanize a bunch of existing organizations to get work done in the community during the crisis. And she's going to talk a lot about, which I'm excited, how actually expressing love and care for people in the community now, you know, the people that we serve as a co-op, actually will help us build better cooperative businesses in the long run. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mikki. Thanks so much for being here.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for having me. I just want to say that today is Thursday and it's Thankful Thursday. And again, thank you all for being here. I'm excited about this. I've been doing the work. The team's been doing the work. So we want to get the information out to everyone so everyone can do the same work. And we have a plan. So in order for us to do the work, you got to have a plan. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the plan. I'm going to talk about the who's, the what's, and the whys. So let me get started. Okay. Creating a community response. When we talk about creating a community response, what does that look like? Who should be involved? What's the details? Do we even know what we're doing? With this pandemic and the COVID-19, everyone just had to, March 13th, we literally had to figure it out. So what does that look like when we have to figure it out and we don't have the plan, we don't have the go-to? Even the professionals can't give us what we need from them, and we're relying on the experts. What do we as a community do at that particular time? Who am I, right? Who is Miss Mikki Smith? Who is this lady on this screen today in this Zoom chat talking to you? What does she know? What is it that Miss Mikki Smith can offer you? Well, let me just talk to you and let me just tell you who I am. So if there's other things that we can talk about or discuss and you can see where I'm coming from, then we could take that and we can dissect it and we can talk about it. Who am I? What are my skills? And what are all the crowns that I wear? Everybody know that I wear a plethora of crowns. I have a plethora of skills. I have corporate knowledge for over 22 years. I got a bachelor's degree. I have a master's degree in administration, so I can administer anything and I can manage, okay? I'm an educational and training chair for the National Congress of Black Women here of the Greater Cleveland chapter. I'm also your vice president for Little Africa Food Cooperative, and I'm also the outreach coordinator. CEO, president of my own consulting company, which is my for-profit, and I'm also the CEO and president of Taking Back Our Youth, which is my nonprofit. I'm a precinct committee person here in Cleveland, Ohio, in Ward 14. My precinct is 14B, and I'm also a community activist. So with all of this, all of these skill sets, they play a part in where I am leading the team today. So I took the skill sets that I had from knowing how corporate operates, knowing how to administer any program or project. I'm a community organizer. So what does that do when you're going to fish out a plan to the community? If you are not on mute, can you please mute your phone? I hear a little feedback. Thank you. What we have to do first is understand effective collaboration. And when I say effective, that means the people that's at the table, they want to be at the table, right? And if they're not at the table, you have to find an ingenious way to bring them to the table to get them to do what it is that you need them to do, okay? So understanding effective collaboration. Who are the people? That means, who are you representing right now? Why are we sitting at the table? We're at the table for the people in the community. We're at the table for the people in the cooperative. We also at the table for businesses, right? Because we got a lot of businesses that's suffering. So we actually have a community within the village that we are going after. So those are our people. Who are the people? Who are the responsible parties? What is it that we're trying to do? We're trying to first assess the needs of the people in the community. And from there, we will find out how we can help them fulfill some of those needs. Why? Because what we do is necessary. Feeding the people is necessary. And we already know he who controls the food controls the destiny of the people, okay? Wherever the people are at, whenever they there, that's when we want to do it. What days are they there? What is the traffic of that particular community? You want to get to all of that information, but how? How are we going to do that? How do we get there? We have to strategize, right? We have to create the strategy in order to get the who, the what, the whys, the whens. And then where? We will go wherever the needs are for the people. We're not limited. You know, some of us may have a cooperative in California, but you also have other people in various states. So your work should not just stop in California. Your work should go through Cleveland, Detroit, Florida, Pennsylvania, wherever we are as a cooperative community, that's where our work should be. And we should be doing this together, and we should have tangible results. Why? Why must we take charge? Because food security now is for all of our families. Cooperatives is the only way. How can we do that? How can we tell our people in the community that cooperatives are the only way? We have to show them. We have to be there. We have to love on them, and we have to show them how to get there. We can't expect for them to just say, okay, I would like to be a part of your cooperative, and they know nothing about how the cooperatives move, how they are placed in the communities, and what it is that a cooperative can do to feed the community in a long-term situation, especially as it relates to the COVID-19. Okay, the plan. Within the plan that I'm going to discuss today, it's going to talk about the call for action. It's going to talk about the meeting, how the meeting took place. Then it's going to start talking about how we created that plan, how we're going to utilize every resource, every community advocate as possible. And when we see there's a stump in the ground or a stump in our plan, we retweak that plan accordingly and as often as possible. We have to make sure that we're creating working curriculums, because we know curriculums work. Whenever you're going for funding, whenever you're going for anything, they always want to know, what type of curriculum do you offer? What is it you're going to give us? How are you going to present this to the community? And then what do? We develop the systems to control the plan. And then I'm going to show you, voila, magic, baby, right? Okay, I'm going to get off of this one. I'm going to stop sharing briefly because I would like to go to the plan now. Okay, now we have the plan. I sent this plan to Miss Hannah a few weeks ago for her to distribute to the community, but we're here today and let's talk about the plan. First thing we want to do is we need to discuss the objective. When you're in a community, discuss the objective. Why are you there? And we came to the community and we said, we want to collaborate. We want to provide emergency crisis kits for the COVID-19 to a specific community. So one thing you have to do is, first you have to make sure it's specific and it's measurable, right? So we were specific. COVID-19, Central Kansas community, we want to provide emergency kits during this crisis. And what is it we want to do? Remember, as a cooperative, our whole goal is to do what? Build community bonds and make sure that we are serving the best interests of our stakeholders and our residents. That is what we are. We are cooperative. So we have to make sure that in our objectives, we put that information in there. Again, who are we? Who will be at the table? The stakeholders, the community leaders, the volunteers, the nonprofits, your cooperatives and your farmers. Why do you need every last one of them at the table? For one, you got the stakeholders because they speak for us, right? You got the community leaders because they can go out there and they can do what they do because they're great at it. You need them to lead. Remember, all you are doing is help creating the plan. And you're going to have people help you lead this. I do not want anybody to go in this thinking that this is your plan. This is all by yourself. This is all about your cooperative. I want you to go into this thinking we are going to do this, and this is how we're going to accomplish it, okay? Who are we servicing? Let's talk about that. Most of the times, if you look at grant, if you look at funding and you look at dollars, it's always at-risk families, at-risk youth, senior citizens, people with medical conditions, and the homeless population. We covered it. We got it all in our plan. So can't nobody say, well, you did not cover the seniors. Yes, we did. You did not cover the, oh, yes, we did. And now I'm about to get into the meat and potatoes of this plan. So how do we define at risk? Because then now here's the other umbrella. Everybody is at risk. Okay, well, what is your definition in your plan of at risk? At risk is defined as many families without access to fresh food, shelter, or hygiene materials due to COVID-19. Many of the resources within that community, they have access as a collective, and we want to provide 3 tiers. Remember, they always want to know, well, how do you measure it? How do you know who is considered at risk? What level of service are you providing? So we created 3 levels. Our first level of at risk is your youth, okay? Then you have the youth 17 and under. Then our second level is our homeless. And then our next level was the seniors with no transportation and have medical conditions. Again, this right here, this helps us within our cooperatives because we can also keep these numbers, keep this data for what? Our own feasibility study. If we're doing the work, we can create our own feasibility plan, okay? Criteria. What is the criteria in order for us to be able to provide services to them? They have to live within the community, right? And they have to be within that collaborative neighborhood. They have to be a certain age, and they have to be part of the level 1, level 2, and the level 3 at risk assessment that we have already placed in there. What did we do? The youth program will organize with already established organizations. Let me repeat this. You want to get already established organizations that's doing the work that's in your community, and you want to bring them on board. Once again, they are on board to provide a service. They're not on board to dictate and tell you what they are going to do. You're creating this plan to dictate and tell them how they can be used at the table. So we want, what is the what's? We want to assist establish programming, again, in the community by collaborating. We wanted to provide kits that include first aid. We wanted to make sure we had resources. That means we create a contact sheet. We wanted to make sure that there was activities that were going on in the homes because everybody was at the stay at home. So what we did was each community garden came together and they offered a specific curriculum. And by offering a specific curriculum, now you have an opportunity for education and training funding. You are agriculture, so health and wellness, you also have an opportunity to get funding for health and wellness. So you have to think about it: education, training, health and wellness, and then food security. Now, because with the COVID-19, different states change different guidelines. So remember, you tweak your plan to make sure that it's following the state guidelines, just so you can stay off their radar. That's all we want. We just need you to stay off their radar. Just say we're always practicing COVID-19 state mandated guidelines. This will keep them off your back, okay? Now, as you see, I have red. The red is different various partners putting in their information in this document. This document is a shared document by all of your community partners, okay? That means everybody that's sitting at the table has a vested interest, and they are considered a community collaborative partner. Nobody is bigger than the next. And we need to make sure everybody knows that. I don't care if you have a budget of $30 million and I have a budget of $500, okay? Nobody is bigger than the next at this table. We all represent one mission, one voice, and that is the people. That's it. So if anybody come in there with a whole lot of extra, you start weeding them out because they're not for this particular plan. Okay. I see some chats going on. I don't know if that's for me or not. I can't read them, so I'm just going to keep going through and I'll get to your chats after the facts if they for me. Okay, y'all. I see y'all bling, bling, bling. I see you. Okay, I can't get to the bling, bling, bling yet, but I'm going to get to them. All right. So we want to make sure we got volunteers, right? We want to make sure that as we create the plan, we got our volunteers and we got everybody in motion. So when we call our community collaborators to the table, our plan is already ready. We just need to insert them in and say, hey, what is it your community, what is it your organization offer? Oh, your organization offers transportation? Okay, how often do you offer transportation? And what is the guidelines? You get all of that information, and guess what? You figure out how to take your cooperative and use their services for your people. Think. Did you hear what I said? You look at what they have that you can utilize for your people. It's a powerful thing because you got so many people say they out here, they doing it. Put them to the test. You put them to the test. Say, oh, you do transportation? Okay. I'm telling you this because I did it. I sent 37 seniors over to this organization who was trying to beat Little Africa to the punch. And when I sent the 37 over there, they said, oh, we closed off the list on Wednesday. I said, I'm sorry, but in your email correspondence, it says we had to submit this by Friday before 6. So it's Thursday evening. So do you want me to call these seniors and tell these seniors you cannot provide the service? They don't want that. You see what I'm saying? So guess what? They provided that service to those 37 people. We have to be the checks and balances also. Did you hear what I say? We are the checks and balances. So when they sit at our tables, we're going to do the checks and balances. We are not going to allow nobody to come to our table and not provide the services that they said they was going to provide for our people. We have to make sure that we take ownership and say they are our people because we are them. They are us. We are in this together. Everything you do, everything you say, you always speak of a we, a us, a team. There's no I's, okay? There's a we, a us, and we are always together, okay? So as you're going through the plan, let me get back to the plan, y'all. So as we go into the plan, you want to talk about the different days, who's providing what, when they're providing these services, what different days that we can have different meal distribution centers. You want to find a community center that does food preparations already. If they're doing hot meals, jump on the bandwagon and say, okay, let us come in and let's help you with these hot meals. Now you can offer hot meals to your people and your cooperatives. Take it a step further and say, we're going to now deliver hot meals to our seniors. So you can play with this. You can tweak it according to the needs of your cooperative and your community, okay? Remember, it's always a working document. We are doing what? We are flying the plane and we're building it as we go, okay? We got a little, we got a little propellers. They may be out a little bit, and we gonna maybe put some duct tape on it, until we can get the equipment to fly it right. Okay. All right. So where are we, right? We are in an open community or center cooperative, right? Where are we doing this? Where are we doing all of this packaging for the people? We find somebody in our community that has access to the food. So you find the person who got access to the food bank, the food pantries, food distributions, and you find out what their days are. Did you hear me? I didn't say just find one. I said you find out every food pantry, every community center in there that's offering any type of food service to your community. Remember, you take ownership. It's your community. It's no longer nobody else's community. It's your community. You find out what they're doing, how they're doing, what their packaging is like, and then you create the plan around the packaging. Before you bring people, your other community collaborators to the table, create the agenda. Create the agenda, start talking about it with your core. You will have a core in this, right? You're gonna have your core, and then you're gonna bring other people to the table. So this particular plan was created with the core group, and then we brought everyone else to the table, and that's where you're about to start getting to the meat and potatoes, how the agenda was developed, what we wanted to discuss, the dates, the times, what we were trying to do, and what was the goal. I do not want to go through this whole plan because it's very detailed and it gives you so much information. I just wanted to give you a little bit of pieces of the meat and the potatoes, and then I want us to talk. I want us to talk about it, and I want you to utilize this time so I can give you this brain that I have. And if you have some thoughts and some ideas, let's just talk about it. So right now, what I would like to do is I would like to, Jacqueline, I would like to open this up for discussion. And for those of the people who are on the call that did not get the plan, I would like for us to make sure we share that plan with them today. Okay?
Absolutely. We will send out the plan, the slides, and the video by the end of today for everybody. And if you're shy about just jumping in, put it in the comments, because we do kind of have a stack. I don't want everyone coming at Mikki at once. So if you're like, I want to comment or I have a question, throw it in the chat. That's fine. Or if anyone just wants to unmute and start talking, that is invited.
I'll start just to get everybody warmed up. First, Mikki, I think you did a great job of just walking through your process of putting together partnerships. And at first I didn't know if that was intentional, so I put a note. What you were saying in the chat was me putting a note saying, oh, Mikki said it better. Because I think that there's so much meat on the bones of that plan to think about where those partners are, and so you don't have duplicative partners. Because, at least I can say in our community, we're serving 3 small towns, and there are going to be partners who, may only serve 2 of the 3. Then we're going to need another one. It's kind of a puzzle. And I think there's a system that I've used before, and I'm curious if you're using it. So here's where the question is, and it's called a Memorandum of Understanding. And it's sort of just like this way of bringing everybody in and basically defining their role, their lane, kind of what they're supposed to do, so that, and who they're serving and what there's, the whole thing, just like. And it's not a contract for dollars necessarily. It's really just this is what you're going to do. You're going to attend these meetings. You're going to have a representative. You're going to respond promptly, so that it makes everybody work together and have a common understanding of what they have to do. So I'm going to mute myself again and just listen in to see if anybody has those things.
Okay, so regarding the Memorandum of Understanding, the way in which we did this, we did not go that approach only until after we maybe created something after this plan with other organizations. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. This document that you see, it holds everybody accountable. Their names is in this document, and it has their plan, exactly what they want to do, the times they said they want to do it, how they want to offer it to the community. So the plan holds them accountable, right? Now, if we want to take something outside of that and say, we got this plan now, Kim, Mikki, and Jacqueline, we're going to go off and do something separate. Now that's where your MOU come in at and say, we're going to do something separate outside of that plan. You don't want to hold people like, oh, you got to do this, or you make them give you what they want to commit to, right? And you work with their commitments. That's how you get them at the table. Work with their commitments. Don't get into the MOUs and the NDAs, because again, this is all about community. We all on the same page. We don't want nobody to stray away and make it so rigid. We want it to be free, sharing, love. You get what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong. I will tear a new one in you if you don't do what you say, but I'm going to do that on a phone call, okay?
Anyone else want to jump in? Because I got one, but I want to let you guys talk first. Mary, go ahead.
So Mikki, thank you. You did a phenomenal job there in laying out all the steps. So just to summarize where we're at and what we could do as the first steps here, what you're saying is invite people to come together, and organizations that are serving different needs in the community. We would initiate that with a specific agenda, and we would find out what they're doing in the community right now. Is that correct?
Absolutely, but you want to do your research first, right?
Yeah.
Before you invite them to the table, you
Right.
want to already know. Yes, ma'am.
You want to know what they do.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I love that, though. Let's not miss that part that Mikki just said, which is you're going to invite them to the table to say what they can do, but know what they can do before they show up.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, okay. All right, yeah.
I had a question or comment. Can I jump in?
Go for
Hi,
it.
Angela.
Oh, yeah. I had to turn my thing on. I was eating lunch. Hey, everyone. Yeah, so there was a question around the MOUs, and I just wanted to explain maybe the technicalities of that a little bit. So the collaboration that we do, we just come together because we want to feed the people. And so that's like, it's an informal process, even though there's a methodology to it. And so we're coming to do that. Now, when we go to look for funding, because people will fund you because they see you're doing good work and they want to help you have the resources that you need. In that case, you do need a leading nonprofit organization. And so whoever your leading nonprofit is and whoever has the relationship with the funders, they will go for the funding, and they would also be fiscally responsible for the funding. But the rest of us are volunteers. So either it's a driver, or if we're packing, or if we're doing an intake process, or whoever's the coordinator. And then the leading nonprofit will allocate the budget and the form of stipends, you know, just depending on how the funds come through. But mostly if the food is not donated, which in a lot of cases it is, like we do hygiene kits, safety kits, we have to purchase those type of things. Little Africa is actually giving away toaster ovens to some of the select families in the community, along with our meal kits, because we want to encourage families to stay out the microwave, you know, microwaving food and maybe deep frying everything. And so we gave out a lot of fresh produce, but we did it in kits yesterday when we did our giveaway. So we kind of cut the vegetables, prepped it, and, you know, fresh cilantro. We gave them fresh because even the food they're getting from the food banks and other organizations around town are perishables. They're the dry macaroni and cheese. I mean, it's not fresh. And so that's kind of, I won't call our niche, but that's the differentiation between what, you know, we're doing as Little Africa. And that's what we bring to the partnership, to the collaboration at the table. So the MOUs aren't really necessary in this model, but I mean, there is legalities with the money, and the leading nonprofit organization would be the organization to kind of lead and handle that. So I just wanted to, you know, throw that in.
Thank you, Angela. And as many of you know, Angela is our treasurer for Little Africa Food Cooperative, and she also is responsible for a lot of our business development. So as it relates to money, funding, that's our guru. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So she's supposed to jump in and make sure that everyone knows, basically, because we're going through a lot of this process right now. And with the plan, we're seeing how we're being funded. We're seeing how we have to make sure that we're precise, and that when we're talking and we're speaking of collaboratives, that we have specific people sitting at the tables as it relates to go for funding. You know, you got your leading nonprofit, as Angela said, you got your community resource center that's providing the food, the service, or anything like that. And if you have a CDC, you know, you have somebody, an organization that's big or that's huge, have them sitting at the table too. Because what happens when you're collaborating with some of those big entities, and I'm not telling you to allow them to be the leading nonprofit. I'm saying the cooperative should be the leading nonprofit. Or if there's a nonprofit that's sitting at the table that's doing this plan, you become the leading nonprofit. Don't allow nobody else to become the leading nonprofit over your plan. Okay?
Others with questions, comments before I jump in? I'm going to throw mine out there. So Mikki, I wonder if you're going to invite us to these groups, because you guys are obviously have already been thinking in this way. Like, you're obviously a long-term, community organizer who knows their stuff. Some startups, the community organizing aspect is new. Like, they don't necessarily maybe have the depth of partnerships. Do you think that a startup that maybe hasn't done as much collaborating up till now with other nonprofits in the community to get things done, can they jump in here, and what advice would you give them?
Okay. So like Little Africa, we have been doing various things in certain communities, but not all communities know us, right? So what we did was we partnered up with someone who was doing food distribution, right? And because they're doing food distribution and nobody in that community knows us, we took the lead organizing role to help facilitate a wonderful food distribution day. It was fresh produce, you know, all of the fresh produce. And what we did was we took the lead on it, but we already had just one organization that we could work with. And once we had the one organization, they gave us names of other community partners that we possibly can call and bring to the table. But as a new startup, you first have to at least make sure that you are out there doing foot patrol and doing grassroots work. This all starts with grassroots. It all starts with on the ground. It can start with a social media post. Real simple, very pointed, very community focused. Remember, keep everything pointed. If you a small cooperative startup, make sure that when you go out there, your message is specific, intentional, and make sure you are always present. When I say present, that means are you at the meetings, the city council meetings as a startup? You need to be present at anything that's going on in that town as it relates to politics, funding. You need to show up and show out. They need to know who you are. It's no different than when we come to the cooperatives, initiatives, that you know a Little Africa, because I'm gonna show up. Hey y'all, how y'all doing? You make sure you make your mark in whatever community that you go in. Let them know who you are, but you do it with love. You don't go in nobody's community talking about no money. You don't go in nobody's community and talk about things that's wrong. You go in there and figure out how to make it right. You go in there with solutions. Because if somebody come in my community today and tell me, oh, we want to do this beautifying project. What is a beautifying project? A beautiful project. First of all, you gonna come in here and help us grow some vegetables? We ain't thinking about no beautifying project. What does that do? It makes it look good, but the inside and the core of the people ain't beautiful. So you don't come in my community talking about no beautifying project and we home. Right? So as a startup, as a cooperative, you make sure that you first go and address the people, address their needs before you even start to go out there and start galvanizing in the community, because you're going to be doing yourself a disservice.
Right. Yeah. I appreciate that, Mikki. I appreciate the whole conversation. And I really like how you pointed out the notion of building relationships first, right? And the key of doing that. And, you know, what you were saying reminds me of Ella Baker, you know what I mean? How, you know, when SCLC would organize in the community, they would just go to the pastors and they had this top-down leadership. But when SNCC, they would come into a community, they would be in the fields, picking whatever it was, you know what I mean? Like they walked with the people, right? They centered their voice and their story. And that's how you build real momentum, and people feel like their dignity is being acknowledged and that their voice matters, right? And then you're co-creating together. So yeah, I appreciate what you're sharing.
Absolutely. I appreciate you too.
Thanks. You know, you're my sister.
You know, I was thinking about something else. I don't know if you've seen the movie Just Mercy, but in that, Byron Stevenson talks about the importance of seeing people and touching them before you can really help them. And I weave that into what Mikki's saying, because when she's saying show up, I think there's a lot of showing up that we have to do as startups to just show people what we are and who we are, but also to show them that we are one of them. So it's not a them and us kind of thing, but that we're in this together. And I won't go into the whole capital punishment thing. That's like a whole other subject, but the bottom line of being able to touch people, hear people directly, and do that demographic data that comes from being in their space is really important, I think, in this case. I think that's what I was getting from you, Mikki. And if you were saying something else, I apologize. I just kind of, it just occurred to me that sounded so much like any kind of grassroots has to be done, like really foot on the street. It can't really be phoned in or, you know, whatever.
No, see, one of the things is that as a cooperative, we have an opportunity to get into the homes, get into the lives of our people. We got an opportunity to love on our people. And we take that and we do it by food, right? They say food is what they say to the man's soul or to the heart or whatever, right? So you cook a good meal and you love on your people. You cook your food and you cook it with love and they can feel it. You know, when your family be like, you know, they do that, and you be like, you cook, you put your foot in it. That's how we want to go to the community. We want to be like, man, this girl love us. You know what I'm saying? She come for us every day. They want to see you show up. They want to make sure that you're not just another person that's there to take, right? To look like you're there, you know, to portray the image that you're there for the people. No, because us, the people, we can see that, right? So that we have to make sure we loving on our people. So that means don't give them no phone number. If you don't, that's when we say we giving them resources, right? Don't give them a phone number that you don't know who's going to pick up on the other end. We don't do that, right? You need to make sure that you know everybody that's going to pick up on the other end before you give anybody in our community a number. We have to take ownership in everything we do, period. We don't allow nobody. If I'm in re-entry, I'm not about to sit up here and say, let's free the men. Let me bring these men home and they ain't got nowhere to stay. That don't make sense. I'm doing them a disservice. So when we out here and we advocating for food, advocating for security, community, we have to make sure we do it first with love. Love wins all.
And Mikki, you know, it's something really interesting too, is that I don't know if I've ever mentioned this. So I moved into this community and I realized, oh wow, now I can be in the community. I'm not coming from someplace else and trying to assess from my visit what's needed. And so I think that there's such a difference in what we are able to do because we are in the community, and our board spans the 3 towns that we serve. And the demographics that we serve, you know, single moms, the whole thing. And so I think in that space, you know, looking at who you're serving and really understanding them requires you to be one of them. You have to, you know, you can't sell something you wouldn't have bought yourself. So there's that.
Absolutely.
And I think,
But
yeah.
you need to think about this also, Kim. You just hit something. In certain towns and certain communities, you got single mothers with children, right? So as a cooperative, what you need to do, you create a plan that's going to help your single mothers with children. So cooperative, what they going to need? They're going to need daycare. They may need transportation. And you know that most of the kids are latchkey kids, right? So create the plan for these mothers. You create the plan that takes all of you create the plan that closes the gaps. That's exactly what we do. We create the plan that closes the gaps. So if you got a mother that's working till 6 o'clock, her kids get out of school at 3, you create a community part within your cooperative to have those kids come into your cooperative, teach them a curriculum from 3 to 6 till she come home. And then that way she's going to come to your cooperative and do what? She's going to pick up her children. She's going to pick up her food and she's going to go home. Everybody gets what they need. Similar? Yeah.
So Mikki, thank you, Mikki. I love your energy. You know, one thing, I love working with Mikki Smith because she's a world conqueror. You know what I mean? Like, you know, she just can do it all. Like, God only make her one in every 1 trillion people. Do we have a trillion? But I wanted to go back to one of the questions Jackie asked about, you know, just expound upon what you said about how you know, if you haven't collaborated, how do you start in the community? And one thing that we had, you know, we have a cultural, every community has like a subculture. And so, you know, understanding the culture of your community. And I know Mikki, you know, she speaks obviously for the Black community, but she also has a lot of Hispanics in her community. And you know, where I live is pretty much black and white. And so we come from, you know, the way our city is structured, you know, we have different segments. So really understanding the culture of the community is a good way to develop trust so that you meet people where they are. Because even within our community, we don't always trust people, especially if you're in a downtrodden community, because people have made so many promises and, you know, and have broken them. And so like people are just kind of fed up with the promises. So I guess that's where the love factor comes in. But of course, everybody, even though we have love in our heart, we may not all express it outwardly as well as Mikki does, because I like being bothered with people sometimes and sometimes I don't. That don't mean I don't love you. It just means I don't want to be in your face all the time, but I'm in the background trying to make sure that all the books are straightened out, you know, the intake process, you know, I'm doing back office support to, you know, add to it. But if you're on the front line in the community, I think that just building the trust and bringing your authentic self. You know, I have to say it was a little bit intimidating at first coming to FCI conference. Up and coming wasn't too bad, but when we went to CCMA, that was a different set of people. I mean, we're like 1 or 2, you know, African Americans in the whole conference. And so it's like, but we just had to bring our authentic self. We may not be the same, but we can only just be who we are. And it turns out people appreciate you for that. And so be your authentic self.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Angela. And I really like how you highlighted that, like, within your team, you have different core competencies, right? You know, so Mikki does certain work, there's certain work that you do, other people do certain work, right? And so it's like, everybody doesn't have to be everything, right? But like, how do we maximize our gifts, and how do we show up in a way that's natural, you know, and allowing that to flow. And there's sometimes when we don't even have all the things that we may need, but when we all show up in our authentic selves, it brings that whatever gifts and talents that we don't have yet, like it brings that to the team, you know what I mean? Because the energy draws it, you know? So yeah, I appreciate you highlighting that.
Energy is everything. Energy is everything. And that's another thing we have to understand. When you go in these communities, they could feel your energy. They could feel you as a person, as an individual. So don't go in there with no, don't be going in there shady, because they're gonna feel your shade energy, okay? They're gonna peep you out, and you're not gonna like it. So again, as Angela said, always go in our communities with your true, authentic self. You go in there, you meet the people where they are. You know, I'm just going to touch on this. A lot of times we think of the church buildings. You built this brick and mortar. Don't nobody coming to your church. You need to go to the people, right? Ain't nobody coming to the churches no more. We need to start getting out of those brick and mortar buildings and go to the people, because half of them don't have transportation and can't get to these places. So we figure out how to create the spaces and the places that accommodate the people that's in our communities and our villages. And that's how we streamline everything. We meet them where they are. You also, within that cooperative space, I wanted to share this though. If you got people that's on your team and doing community work and they don't have self-love, it's going to be a problem, okay? So that's something that you need to also make sure that within your cooperative space, that as a team, when you go out there, everyone is reflective of the team. And that whole team have to demonstrate the same energy, the same love. I know Angela ain't gonna be as bubbly as I am. You know, Tila ain't gonna be as bubbly as I am. We know that, but we got the same amount of love that we present to everybody we meet. When you see Little Africa, you see all of us. You see this, you see this, you know what I'm saying? And you see this, one, you know? So when, as a cooperative, Kim, and everybody else within this space, when you're going out and you're doing the work in the community and you're creating the plan, always start everything off with love. Always start everything off with togetherness, team, us. How can we do this? How can that? Us, we love. Us, we love. I love us, and we us love. We. Madam, you know, so that's just me. Any more questions?
Let me mention something else just really quickly. I want to say that the demographic can be whatever the demographic is, but sometimes that demographic is between 16 and 24. Sometimes it's seniors. And, you know, and so it's not always a whole family too. So, you know, when I really wasn't talking about any sort of, you know, one sort of trying to be, I was just trying to understand like where you are in terms of how to have empathy across so many different segments. And I think that comes out, but some of it is authenticity and some of it is just really kind of getting those people and making sure they feel like you get them too. So just
yeah, because think about it, Kim. You if you sitting at the door, like for myself, I do deliveries to some of the seniors, and I say, "How you doing today?" And you know, they greet me with a smile, and they say, "I said, is this enough for you? Is this okay?" They said, "This is okay." I said, "Do you need any water? You got water?" Right? So I'll go to the car and go get a few bottles of water. And I said, "Are you okay on toiletries? Do you need any tissue? Do you need any soap or whatever?" I keep it in the car. So as I'm doing deliveries, I got hygiene kits too. So you ask them, "Hey, is everything okay? You know, do you got internet?" Can help them. Go into these resources and go get them what they need. We take the ownership in getting them what they need. We know the resources is out there, but if they don't have it, then apparently they don't know about it, or they having a problem getting it. We become that conduit as a cooperative. See, this is the time for the cooperative to do a little bit more than just providing food. This is the time for you to take your place and your mark in your community and say, okay, as a cooperative, we know we service food. As a cooperative, we know we do this. Now we need to do just a little bit more to get into the hearts and get into the lives of our people. That is what we need to start doing as a cooperative. Cooperative, right? Cooperatively loving each other, right? While we're feeding each other, right? Okay.
And Mikki, remember yesterday we were talking, or this week, because Kim made jog something in my memory about, you know, the different segment that we work in. So with the elders, we've actually identified one of our partners who is an elder, and we're asking her to connect with the other elders. I don't know if you want to speak to that a little bit, Mikki, about how we, you know, just the segmentation or.
So I'm going to make sure we're just clear on time. This is so we're not going to take any other questions except for this one. So this is our last question, and then we'll get wrapped up. But I'd love to hear your answer, Mikki.
Okay, so my answer to that is that because I have a senior who had a hard time understanding her Medicare Part A, Part B, Part C, Part D, how to get her money back, all of this stuff, she would be the perfect person to call for intake to talk to the other seniors. And she can be the one to say, is everything okay for your Medicare, right? Now, what we did, we done created another service for our people. Now we got something else to figure out how to take care of our people. So that's how we do that. If we got you bring them to the table, have them lead, right? Because they know the needs of their peers. Put the people in spaces and places that knows the needs of the people. Back to you, Jacqueline.
All right, well, first we've got to take a minute here to appreciate Mikki and all her knowledge and time and wisdom. Thank you so much for this session and for joining us. And
Hey.
yeah, come on, give it up.
Good thing.
And my job is to let you know. So we're going to have that plan, the recording, and the slides all in a Google folder. And I'm going to get that done tonight. I'm going to get caught up. If you were in Amaha's session, I'm going to get caught up and get his folder out tonight too. You'll get emails about both. And if you registered for this call, you'll automatically get that tonight. But I want to make sure you know coming up tomorrow, 10 a.m. I want to make this one. I'm going to remind you, this is a morning one. We're going to have mutual aid and organizing with Shoni Black and Ed Whitfield from Fund for Democratic Communities. It's going to be a terrific session. Make sure you show up for that. And then on Tuesday, we have Ray Williams from Seward Community Co-op, which is an open food co-op in the Minneapolis area, and how they've been serving their community. So this is kind of an opportunity to hear about what it's like at an open co-op and to get ideas, information about how co-ops are serving once they're open in this crisis, which can really be great information for letting others know why you want to open a food co-op. Look at what food co-ops are accomplishing, look at what they're doing. So Ray will be here to share with us about that. And then next week on Thursday, Don Moffitt, who is best known at Cluminate for doing the pro formas. Most startup food co-ops end up working with Don at some point on their financial planning. He is going to be here doing a session called Forward from Here. And it's actually going to be him just talking about what we don't know all the implications yet, but what he thinks some of the business implications are going to be on real estate, on funding projects. Like, he thinks that actually there's going to be a lot of real estate opportunity, but funding's going to get harder. And he's going to talk through some of that because he wants us to be thinking forward, because we don't know, he doesn't know for sure either, but he's got some really good guesses and understandings of where things might be going with some of that as we try and develop our businesses. So he's going to be here talking about that and taking your questions. And I want to mention Kim, who's on this call today, will be taking further her concepts and ideas about connecting with your owners and making sure you understand who they are when you reach out to them to build the co-op in this time of crisis. So her co-op Market 166, she's going to be representing them. We're just getting that scheduled coming up in May. So thank you everyone for being here. If you need anything, you know where to find us, and have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.